Hey everybody. So, interesting development the last couple weeks. GQ magazine was kind enough to feature our Ring wallet, which was interesting because this is the first wallet I ever designed myself. So I figured we'd do a little video. We get a lot of questions about how to sell your stuff and how to get noticed and that sort of thing. And over the years, we've had a few interesting features. We've been in, this is like Esquire magazine. We've been in stuff like this and Real Simple magazine. This was for our bottle openers a few years back. And I decided that we're going to make one of these on camera, and I'll tell you a little bit of the story behind how I designed it. And then we'll also talk about how to get noticed, I guess, how to get press, how to get eyes on your product so that hopefully people will come and give you some business. So to start, we just got a fresh shipment of leather in from Weaver, and this is how we order this. This is going to be what we're going to make this wallet out of. This is Herman Oak's London Tan harness, bridle. And a lot of people try to order it, and they say, well, they only have 10, 12 ounce. Weaver has a splitting service, so they'll cut your hides down into like 10, 11-inch strips, and then they'll level them to whatever weight you want, which is really nice because you can buy one hide and you can get it leveled down. I think you probably get like 3 to 4 strips per hide, and you can get like 2 strips at 3 ounce, 2 strips at 5 ounce, and then you can make a full wallet and you don't have to buy multiple hides for different weights. It does cost a couple bucks extra, but it's, it's negligible, and you get all this beautiful leather at weights you can use. So we're going to use, this is like 4.5 ounce to make this wallet. So I'm just going to trace out the pattern, which is actually a leather pattern. This is how we used to do them. I don't have a digital pattern for this, but it's basically, and I'll take measurements if you want to try to make one yourself. It's just a T, and you can scale this up or down. I've made bags out of this design. Even they make like kind of cool like map pouch bags that the military used to use. And when I designed this wallet, I was actually visiting where we're based now in Cape Cod. This is called the Brewster Long Wallet, or the Brewster Ring Wallet. There's a long wallet too. And it was kind of my first full collection of stuff that I designed. And I think that's a good first point. How do you get people to notice your stuff? Uniqueness. There is a phrase in business, I suppose, and the phrase is that it needs to be either better, cheaper, or faster. And you don't have to take that at face value. Better could be a better design, it could be better quality. Faster could be if you're making things that actually have speed involved in them. I don't know what that would be, a car or something like that. And cheaper, of course, probably means price less than the current competition. With this wallet, it's a unique design. So you could say that is better in a sense that there's more style to it, or that it functions a little bit better, but it stands out. And so I think of all the wallets that we make or anybody makes that GQ could have put in their little guide, I think that is a good illustration of why this was chosen. And now there isn't just one way to get noticed, of course. You can also almost forego a lot of this. Of course, you do have to have a good product, but you can just hire a PR team too. And when you have a PR team, they'll get a lot of press releases, and they'll have a lot of contacts, and they will find places where your products fit in with publications looking to make content, and they'll put your products up for consideration. And now when you do that, a lot of the times you have a retainer for someone like that, so you'll be paying them, say, $700 or $800 a month to always be working to get you press. But if you're like us and you don't have the budget to pay for press, then I don't want to say stuck, because I think it's personally a good thing, but you are left with making a good, unique product that people are going to notice organically. And so without advertising budget, what we've been forced to do is sort of let the market be our compass. We'll design something that we think is unique, and we'll put it out into the world. And if it doesn't get noticed, we have to go back to the drawing boards. And getting noticed now is a lot different than when we started. When we started, you were dependent on other people with blogs writing about you and all that kind of stuff. And now, a lot of it can be achieved with social media. You can build a YouTube channel, or you can build an Instagram account, and you can get noticed that way. Because to be honest, a decent-sized following of your own on social media can result in just as much recognition, as many eyes looking at your product, as a feature in a magazine or someone else's publication can. Say you really do want to get your stuff that you make into magazines or publications like that. You know, you have your Instagram account and all that kind of stuff, and you're just looking to figure out how to get in print without paying for it. The real answer is, short of having contacts at the magazine, I just don't know. Because the way that has always happened for us is that we've gotten contacted because of our unique products. And so that's why I'm telling you, really work on your product design, your product development. Make sure that you're solving a problem with the things that you're making. And I know you look at this and you say, well, you make wallets. That's not a really unique problem. But you have to remember, at the time, 10 years ago, there weren't a lot of people hand sewing wallets like we were. Now it's a wonderful craft, and the hobby is huge. And I think that's why it came as a real shock to us to have to get sent a link to GQ and see our work in there, because it's been a while. It has been a while. It's a lot harder to get recognized in a crowded field. It's just like driving in traffic. It's harder to get where you want to go as compared to an empty side street. And so, without a PR team or a big budget for advertising, that brings us back to your product. You really need to focus on having a unique product. Not necessarily that it looks wacky. You just need a product that solves a problem that people are having. And that's what we focused on with this wallet. This is a pouch design, and at the time when I made this, there were a lot of basically just bifold wallets. And I really just wanted a wallet that I could kind of like throw, 10 or 15 cards in and stick in my back pocket. And that's what I made. That's why I designed it. And if we look at the old one, it's really simple. It just opens with a strap, and then this little gusset here, I would use the front for cash, fold it up, and the back for cards, and it kind of keeps it separated. And it was something that there just didn't exist for sale. And so I think that's why 10 years later, we haven't sold this wallet. We didn't sell for 8 years. We sold it 2 years ago for our 10-year anniversary, and we haven't really made many since. We keep them in stock and kind of sales trickle. But I think that the unique design of this is why so many years later, it got picked up by a publication and talked about. And so I guess we can also talk about then the difference between paying for advertising and getting, I guess you could call it organic advertising, like a feature in a magazine or even on TV or something like that. From my experience, we can get this out of the way, TV is really weird because with a magazine, magazines hang around, so people see, if you're in a magazine, people see it for a while, for like a couple months, or every hairdresser has a stack of magazines that are 6 months old and people are still flipping through them. So when you're in a magazine, you see sort of a long trail amount of attention. When you're on TV, it's really wild. We were on like local news for a couple things a few years back. And it was like literally like 10-minute spurts of like website attention, and then it just went away completely. So TV is, I don't know how to use television. Someone probably does. I'm probably not in the right field for it. It's not particularly ever been a focus. But with print, print isn't necessarily dead. People do read magazines and they do read blogs still. And if you're going to pay for it, if you're going to like buy advertising space in something print related, you want to get more of the data about their circulation and their readership and all that kind of stuff before you put money in. You want to price out different publications because everyone has different ad rates. We've never done that. The only thing I've ever paid for, we bought a banner once for a couple months on my friend Brad's blog called Well Spent. He was so kind to us coming up. He featured us all the time, and that's a way to give back and build a good relationship with people that cover your products, is to invest in their publication. So you can buy a banner, or you can, these days it would be more like pay for sponsored posts on their Instagram account. That's a good way to sort of keep them, or to form a symbiotic relationship. They're giving you exposure, you're giving them new products to make content about, and everybody's happy. And so I guess to conclude, how do you get your stuff in publications? Well, the first way is you pay for a PR firm and they find publications and they shop your products around and try to find a good fit. If you're like us and you don't have the budget for that, product design is king. You need to be creating stuff that solves a problem, that is faster, better, or cheaper, and that speaks to the people you're trying to sell to. And that's how we've pretty much seen all of the attention that we've gotten over the last 13 years. So with that out of the way, we haven't really talked about the piece at all. So first, I realized I never gave you measurements. And again, I don't have a pattern made up, but if you want to make this, 13.5 inches long, 3.5 inches wide for the main piece. And then this piece, I think, goes out to like 7.25 inches across. And that is 4.5 inches deep. And then this is 1/4 inch up. If you cut it just a straight T, there's a lot of weird bulk at the bottom here. So by angling it, it gives you a little bit of space to do this fold over, because it is, when you're using like 4.5, 5 ounce leather, it is a lot of bulk. When you sit on it though, you can see this looks huge, but after you use it, nice and slim. So that's how the design works. And so the main reason I made this, and you can see it's not perfect, this is just a sample. I want to try something new. When we made this original version, I wanted to, this is solid brass. It looks white right now, but it is solid brass, to sort of match the copper rivet as best I could. But Weaver recently came out with these copper D-rings. So I want to try using, instead of an O-ring, I want to try using a D-ring and have the copper, so the whole thing is copper. So that was the whole point of this, and I figured I'd just kind of talk to you about some stuff while I was making it. But we're going to install this D-ring, and then all we need to do after that is make our little keeper loop. And you can see it's not attached, it just stays right on there, and I used this for 6 years, never lost it once. So it works well. Of course, you could always attach it with a staple or a rivet or stitch it onto this other strap. But we're gonna make a little keeper. We have our loop cut out, we'll rivet that on. We'll get this whole thing put together. So to do a keeper style, I'm going to skive the normal back side of one side, but I'm actually going to skive the front of one side, because what's going to happen is these are going to overlap. And so what I want to do is, like this, in this whole thing we want to get to the thickness of a single layer. So I'll make like a kind of a line, and then I'll skive this out so we have a clean edge and everything meets up. So when we put a little bit of glue on the top side and a little bit of glue on the bottom side here, we'll fold these over and you can see where this line is. And I'll trim that, of course, but that's gonna match up perfectly. And we have one thickness all the way around, so there won't be like a weird lump where this sits. And here we go. So final assembly is pretty simple. Just slide our keeper on here. It should be fairly tight. And we fold this over. And this is why I wanted to make the sample. I don't think the D-ring's gonna function much different, but I wanted to see what it's gonna look like. And then we just slide this up and in, and it should be, there we go. There we go. So I'm really happy with that. And this is our original. This one's about 11 years old. And so that's about it. So with this, of course, if you're making one of these along with the video, you can always attach the keeper to the strap if you want to. I don't, honestly. Like I said, this one's been loose for years. I've carried it for like 6 years. It never fell off. It kind of, once you use it, it wears in and kind of just stays like this. But even on its own without a snap or anything, it stays shut nice. And so that's going to be the end of the video. I hope all the info was helpful about magazines and press and stuff. And you know, remember, there are plenty of ways to do all of this. I can only really speak for our experience, and we're lucky that we've had over 10 years of experience. But you know, the climate's ever changing. Sometimes getting a magazine feature or getting your product in a magazine is really useful. Sometimes you don't need it if you're able to build your own platform online. And these days, that is more and more the case. You don't need to focus on other people mentioning your product if you're able to build a large enough platform that you can reach people that want to purchase your product yourself. So thank you guys for watching so much, and we'll see you in the next one.